The world's weather is getting wilder.
You know, the Earth is a very violent place. There are all kinds of natural processes happening all the time.
From terrifying tornadoes
People are going to die today.
to monster hurricanes.
Nature's a beast. It'll come at you any way and every way it can.
It was mind-blowing. It was unbelievable.
And record-breaking waves.
It was just like, bang! This shot all the way up my back. And then I had the washing machine effect.
To fast-moving walls of ice.
It's like a big snowball coming at you.
As the world warms, we hear the first-hand accounts of people living through new extremes of weather.
The flash flood's right there!
You're in the middle of this perfect storm of mud. You really have to focus on surviving.
Oh my God, Starbucks just got blown over.
We had passed the point of no return.
And we reveal exclusive footage captured by people around the world.
Call 911!
So, shelter from the storm and hunker down for the world's wildest weather. Coming up on World's Wildest Weather, the shocking impact of a major hurricane on a Caribbean island.
It just grew into this giant Category 5 monstrosity, and it's headed right towards us.
A long, hot summer brings tragedy to Portugal.
The fire in front of me joined the fire behind me. I couldn't breathe.
But first, a series of terrifying tornadoes tear through East Texas.
All I could see is this green wall. You couldn't see past it, around it, above it.
April the 29th, 2017. Storm chaser Hank Shimar is tracking extreme weather across East Texas. He's heading along Highway 19, just south of the city of Canton. It's the height of the tornado season, but this particular day isn't looking dangerous.
It seemed like a typical stormy day that we would have in late April. Was not expecting the storms that materialized to do what they did.
Vicky and Jim Ferguson are working on their new house just a few miles north of Canton.
The weather that morning was an average April day. Sun was shining. There was a few clouds here and there.
It seemed like a regular, normal day. We get our coffee and we sit around, relax, and then make out our schedule, what we're going to get done that day.
Then, at about 2 o'clock, Hank starts to get the first indications that there may be rather more activity in the skies above him than he had anticipated.
So a cluster of storms started to erupt, and I was kind of just hoping to get some good lightning. Was not expecting tornadoes, but I looked at radar and I saw, wow, that's a little sign of rotation.
It's a tornado.
I went outside and looked at the sky. It was really boiling.
And we're going, okay, that is not a good thing.
People in this part of the world have to keep an eye on the sky at this time of year. They live in an area nicknamed Tornado Alley, home to many of the largest and most powerful tornadoes in the world. This region is prone to these monsters of nature because of the meeting of two different airflows.
At low levels, you have warm, moist air from the Gulf of Mexico out of the south. Further aloft, you have drier air from the west intertwining with that rising warm air. And it's that intertwining of these two airstreams that provide the conditions favorable to produce the supercell thunderstorm.
These massive rotating storm systems can be up to 10 kilometers deep. But not all generate tornadoes as they move across the Great Plains of America.
One of the crucial elements that will distinguish whether a supercell forms a tornado or not is wind shear in the lowest 1 kilometer above the ground.
Wind shear is a change in wind speed or direction with height. In this part of America, the warm lower air collides with the cold air higher up and starts to rotate. That rotation is then drawn up into the thunderstorm to create a tornado.
When air goes up inside a thunderstorm, it also has to come down as well. And you have the updraft that's rotating around the storm and moving up. You have the downdraft, and that downdraft allows strong rotation to be brought down towards the surface and create that stretching that's needed to bring the funnel towards the ground.
And in Texas, Hank watches this play out in real life in the skies above Canton.
I drove down Highway 19, and sure enough, you could see a wall cloud lowering, you could see it rotate, and it dropped this brief, weak tornado.
There we go. It's a tornado.
It knocked down some trees across the road, and then that was it. And I thought, wow, I saw a tornado today. I wasn't expecting that. It didn't hurt anybody, and I was kind of excited that I got to see that tornado.
But that isn't the last tornado Hank or East Texas will witness on this fateful day.
You see that over there? There it is right there.
There it is. There it is.
There it is. Get in. Get in the bathroom.
Tornadoes usually track along the path of a pressure boundary, the junction between two different areas of air pressure. These generally travel with the storm system and pass by quickly. But on April the 29th, the storm itself was relatively slow moving.
What made this day so special is there was a stationary boundary, and what happens when you have a stationary boundary and the prevailing winds that don't cause it to move is you get a succession of tornadoes following the same path over the same area, like cars on a train track, just one after another, following each other. So after the first tornado decayed, I looked on radar and I noticed that there was another area of rotation. You could see that this was a different tornado. This was a powerful, significant tornado, and it was heading right for Canton, so things were starting to look really grim.
There's not just one, but a succession of terrifying tornadoes. Wow. Hurtling across the Texas landscape with hundreds of people in their path.
Oh my God, those people gotta get out of here. Those people gotta get out of here.
2017 was the most active Atlantic hurricane season in more than a decade, and the costliest on record. The Caribbean island of Puerto Rico suffered some of the greatest losses over a nightmare month of wild weather. Their problems start with the formation of Hurricane Irma at the end of August.
Hurricane Irma was one of the greatest Atlantic hurricanes in many years. One, because it hit Category 5, which is the top of the intensity scale, but also because it maintained that intensity for a really long time.
Agnes Ayuso and her daughter Laura follow the progress of this massive storm system from their home in Puerto Rico.
They announced Hurricane Irma about 2 weeks before it hit us. Because I had never experienced a major hurricane, I didn't know what to expect, so it was a little bit of fear and also excitement.
The islanders set about preparing themselves for the onslaught of one of nature's deadliest weather events.
The storm prediction was that it was going to be a very strong storm, so we had to prepare a lot. There's many things that need to be secured around the house. As the mother in the house, I had to coordinate all these things.
Irma hits Category 5 on the 5th of September, 2017.
It sort of made this trail of destruction across the Caribbean. It made a direct hit on several islands, and the results everywhere were tragic.
We knew that it was a very big hurricane because of the damage that it caused to the little islands before us, so we knew what to expect.
This monster hurricane was predicted to reach Puerto Rico on the evening of the 6th of September.
When Irma was supposed to make landfall, we were all set.
Look at how fast the clouds are moving. It's pretty insane. It was like waiting for the big bomb to drop.
But then, at the last minute, Irma changes course.
Irma is like right on top of us, but it doesn't feel like it.
It skimmed the coastline. The winds were like tropical storm that were strong enough to knock off the electricity in most of the island, but not as strong to destroy the system.
It's just kind of like a very strong wind once every minute or two. We have definitely dodged a really bad bullet. It was a big relief, but at the same time, I kind of also wanted to experience this, so it kind of sucks that I don't get to.
But Josh did get to experience the full force of Irma when it made landfall in the USA 4 days later.
I looked out and I could just see this wall of rain and wind sweeping across the field toward the hotel. That was the eye wall. That was the inner core of the hurricane. And I saw a large billboard about 100 yards away just blow apart and pieces just blowing toward the hotel, and I just like backed away from that window.
The inhabitants of a windswept Puerto Rico had a close call, but their luck would not last.
Just as we were recovering, like, okay, we got power back, everything's going back to normal, a friend of mine tells me, oh, but now they are saying there's a new storm that's coming.
Just 2 weeks after Irma passed by Puerto Rico, a new Category 5 hurricane, Maria, is now bearing down on the beleaguered island.
I had just gotten home from chasing Hurricane Irma. I was pretty tired, but I could tell right away that Maria was going to be a big event, and I didn't need to think too hard. I pretty much just jumped on a plane to Puerto Rico.
Josh is about to experience the most deadly hurricane in the history of Puerto Rico. April the 29th, 2017. Storm chaser Hank Shimar is tracking a severe weather system across East Texas.
Saw the first tornado, and as this tornado decays, another tornado is forming to the south.
This is part of a series of tornadoes training northwards towards the city of Canton and the home of Jim and Vicky Ferguson.
There was a report of a funnel cloud, which was probably 16, 17 miles away to the south.
Jim came in from watching the news in the building going, something's happening.
It's coming fast.
The first tornado had been a relatively weak EF0 category event. The tornado Hank is now chasing is an EF4, with wind speeds of up to 200 miles per hour.
The second tornado was a significant tornado. It wasn't a weak transient tornado like the first tornado. It meant business.
Hank tracks the EF4 towards Canton, but it's a storm chaser's worst nightmare. He has no visibility on the deadly tornado, traveling at speeds of up to 100 miles an hour.
I can't see anything. I'm driving down a road with just a wall of trees, and I found one spot where I could see in between some trees.
Big Daddy.
And I'm right in the tornado's path.
Coming right this way.
And I filmed it as long as I could, which was an eternal 5 or 6 seconds before running for my life.
This monster tornado smashes through the Texas landscape, but the storm system isn't over yet. Hank spots yet another deadly funnel heading into town.
Then I look back on radar and it's happening again. Almost the same exact spot. And so I head back down Highway 19 to intercept what would have been my third tornado of the day.
This tornado rips one more time through the same battered region of the Lone Star State.
So this third tornado, probably close to a mile wide.
Big, violent tornado.
I thought, oh wow, this is going to be one of the worst tornadoes Texas has ever seen. It's going right for Canton.
Oh my God, those people gotta get out of here. Those people gotta get out of here.
I actually had a report that the tornado had hit the Dodge dealership on I-20. That's 7.5 miles from us, due south. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's really close.
It grows so wide, you know, just the whole sky is a tornado. This thing and just drag the communications tower down to the ground. It looks like a Godzilla film.
And this beast is barreling towards Jim and Vicky.
The tornado was basically 200 yards away from us. It sounded like 100 locomotives coming at you.
You couldn't see anything. The sky was just green.
Oh my God!
It was too close, it was too loud. The ground was starting to vibrate.
Caught myself going, I'm being mesmerized by this, and I could have just stood there.
You could almost feel it in your chest. I said, we got to take cover.
And we just ran into the building, got underneath the mattress, and it was just a matter of seconds, and it was there.
The tornado smashes into their home as the couple shelter in terror under the mattress.
I remember going, Jim, the mattress is leaving, and so it gets ripped out of my hands.
I counted to 3, and the building was gone.
Whatever hit me in the head and knocked me out.
I had a hold of Vic's arm with my right arm, and she was being sucked up. And I was trying to hold on to her and thinking, I gotta hold on. So I remember it was a big flash of lightning, opening my eyes, and I knew the building was gone.
Jim and Vicky's home has been completely destroyed. Hank has been following the trail of destruction left in the wake of this devastating run of tornadoes and arrives on the scene.
I come up the road and start to see debris falling around. There were crumpled cars and 18-wheeler trucks turned over. I jumped up and there was this red crumpled car 50 yards out into a field, and so I ran out in that field to check this one car. It didn't even occur to me to look in the pile of rubble on the ground. It looked like just a trash dump. I didn't even realize that was somebody's home.
I opened my eyes and I'm laying there going, okay, what just happened? So then I get up enough nerve to sit up.
Nobody was in this car. When I turned around, there was somebody inside this pile of rubble. And then I saw the blood coming down her head, and so I ran up to her, and said, "Are you okay?" And she says, "I'm fine, I'm fine."
Remarkably, a second storm chaser arrives and films Hank and Vicky at the scene.
Hank puts me on the fold-up chair, and he walks over to check on Jim.
I see her husband is lying on just the cement slab that was their home, and you could tell, this big dude, is in a lot of pain.
I couldn't even move. I just couldn't move. I was frozen.
Jim has broken his neck, and Vicky is bleeding heavily from a wound on her head. As more people arrive, a bad situation gets even worse.
So we just all were waiting there for the ambulance to arrive, and then I look at my radar, and guess what? There's another storm training that's about to head over us.
A series of tornadoes has battered the Texas countryside throughout the afternoon, and now another major storm is headed straight towards them.
It's a matter of minutes before we get hit by just a wall of hail and wind and who knows what, and you can start to see this wall of just storm approaching, and that's when I go to Vicky and say, I need to get you out of here. There's no reason for you to stay here, and she didn't want to leave her husband.
I said, what about Jim? And by this time, people start to show up to help Jim. So I go, okay, then I can go with you.
I knew they were taking her out before me. I was okay with that. I remember thinking, she's okay now. I got to figure out how I'm going to get out of here.
Vicky reluctantly leaves her husband behind. Hank helps her over to his car so she can escape before the next violent storm hits.
I've got a woman. I'm taking her to the hospital. Yep.
It starts pouring down rain. There's hail banging on the car. Along the way, I was trying to keep her calm, and I'm looking at her in the rearview mirror, and she's got this just wicked gash on her head, and she's bleeding. She clearly has a concussion.
Your name again?
Hank. I forgot your name.
Good. I feel so bad.
When I look back, I think she was the one that was keeping me calm.
How you doing back there?
I'm good.
She said she's good.
I'm alive, so what's better than that? So we joked and cut up all the way to the hospital.
Then we finally get to the hospital, and I go out to escort her in, and despite everything that happened to her, she pauses to say a prayer for me and my family.
So, Father God, I just thank you for Hank. I ask you.
That's the kind of girl Vicky is.
A total of 7 tornadoes hit the area over the course of just 12 hours. 4 people lost their lives. But although injured and their home completely destroyed, the Fergusons were lucky to survive. Vicky suffered a severe cut to her head, while husband Jim eventually made it to a different hospital and is now on his way to a full recovery from a broken neck. Friends and neighbors have rallied round to help with the rebuilding of their home, and the couple are now looking forward to better times.
Well, today I can honestly say that we see the future brighter than it was before. We have a new perspective on things.
Possible to survive.
Yeah.
I mean, we shouldn't have, but we did, so that's what we got out of it.
Yeah.
Puerto Rico has just had a near miss with Hurricane Irma. The Caribbean island caught the edge of the tropical storm, but missed the full onslaught of the hurricane. Unfortunately for the islanders, 2017 was one of the most intense and relentless hurricane seasons on record.
A really crazy Atlantic hurricane season. It was just one after another.
There are many reasons why one year can be particularly active, but scientists believe 2 factors may have played a part in making 2017 such an exceptional year. Firstly, the area of the Atlantic where hurricanes form heated quite dramatically in late August to a level 2 degrees Celsius above the average.
For a hurricane to form, we like very, very warm sea surface temperatures above around 26, 27 degrees Celsius. This year, the tropical seas of the Atlantic and Caribbean were very warm, in excess of 28, 29 degrees Celsius, even up to 30 in some places. As the temperatures of the sea increase, that's when you get the fuel, the energy for these beasts to become real huge entities. And that happened time and time again during the season of 2017.
At the same time, there were relatively low sea temperatures in the Pacific as part of a long-term weather cycle known as La Niña.
La Niña is the cooling of the Pacific waters, particularly off the western side of South America. And it does have an effect across the Caribbean, in so much as we lose something called wind shear.
Strong wind shear, which is the change in wind direction and speed at different heights, can pull the rotating column of a hurricane apart. So hurricanes need low wind shear to form, and in 2017, La Niña was providing a helping hand with this.
By the middle part of the season, the wind shear was weak, and because of that, these huge storm clouds were allowed to develop and explosively rise into the upper atmosphere.
In 2017, the combination of these complex weather patterns mean that just 4 days after Irma died down, another Category 5 hurricane, Maria, formed in the Atlantic and set course for Puerto Rico.
I thought, okay, this is probably gonna be another Irma. It's gonna be a big hurricane that's gonna affect all the little islands and everybody but us.
But with 15 years of storm chasing under his belt, Josh Morgerman has a feeling that things might not work out like that.
One of the interesting things about Maria was that the computer models locked on it right away. They knew it was going to be an intense hurricane and they knew the path.
By September the 18th, the people on the island are watching in horror as Maria roars towards them.
Everybody in Puerto Rico was tracking the news. Every hour of every day, I was checking the status on the storm.
As it approached the Caribbean, it suddenly intensified in a way that was very surprising, very rapidly. And by the time it passed over the island of Dominica, it was a Category 5 hurricane and just devastated that island.
It just grew overnight into this giant Category 5 monstrosity, and it's headed right towards us.
just kept coming until, you know, it was just right through the middle of the island. So we had to prepare for this powerful storm.
Puerto Ricans prepare their homes for the onslaught of their second major storm in just 2 weeks. Laura heads out to replenish the family's diminished store cupboard.
I have to get some last-minute groceries for whatever outcome we go through. The stores were just starting to open back up because we had just started recovering from Hurricane Irma. When you went out to buy, say, water, all the shelves were cleared out. There was food, but they were very strict with the amount of supplies you could buy because everybody was trying to get hands on them. So I just got the groceries and they literally just closed everything and they're like escorting people out of this little parking lot.
With Maria just hours from landfall, there is an ominous calm before the storm.
It was very warm, very still, very oppressive. The air has almost like a suffocating quality before a hurricane comes. You almost like can't breathe. I was watching the hurricane approaching on radar and there wasn't a lot of weather outside. I was kind of like, where's the hurricane? It was just like nothing was happening. And then all of a sudden it just suddenly started up. It was like someone flipped a switch. Just in the last half hour or so, the wind started to get kind of a real tug to it. Rain coming down harder. I think that it's just gonna get much worse from here.
Maria makes landfall in Puerto Rico as a Category 4 hurricane with sustained wind speeds of up to 155 miles per hour.
The wind was terrifying because it was so forceful and the noise is horrifying.
I feel very shaky right now. I still get nervous when I watch the footage.
But Agnes and Laura have to go and save their dog Pongo from the storm outside.
The dog got panic and I had to grab him.
I was so scared for that dog. I thought he was gonna run away and get blown off.
By now, high winds make it difficult for Laura to force the door shut.
I was so scared when I closed that door because the wind would blow it against me. I remember I was shaking, it was hard to close it. The wind gusts just started to get out of hand to a point where the windows would shake. Whoa.
And I knew that storm shutter can come out if the wind hits it too much. And I was terrified.
6 miles away, Josh is holed up on the 4th story of a hotel.
I just remember that the wind it went from a howling to kind of like a roar, and then the building, you could feel it vibrating. And then a lot of the roof ripped off and it was just this loud crashing. Well, a lot of the roof just came off. And that just, you could really feel it in your insides, like the destruction happening.
The wind just kept getting heavier and heavier. I thought, okay, a palm tree could crash into my window and I'm sleeping right next to it. So I got freaked out.
So the wind was just ripping like crazy and there's just like destruction happening and crashing sounds. And all of a sudden I heard a knock at the door and I'm like, huh? Okay, my neighbor's windows broke. Can you guys open the door? Can you open it? Their room was on the upwind side of the building, facing the full force of the wind. All their windows had blown out. Here, I'm pushing. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Come on. Just get in there. So they wanted to come into my room. Of course, I welcomed them in. Go in there. When a building starts to blow apart in high winds, bathrooms are often the safest rooms because they're more interior. They have pipes in the walls which can help hold them up. Go in here, it's safer. Go in there. So I put them in the bathroom. We put the kid in the tub because the tub is even safer. And then I gave them pillows to cover themselves. And I basically made them stay in there for the rest of the hurricane. So unfortunately, I don't follow my good advice, so I continue to do what I was doing, oftentimes standing near open windows, which is pretty dumb, but it's what I do to capture these experiences.
Puerto Rico is being battered by the most deadly hurricane in the history of the island. But the millions of people sheltering from the storm have still to experience the full wrath of this monster cyclone. The summer of 2017 was unusually hot across much of Europe. A heat wave nicknamed Lucifer brought temperatures in excess of 40 degrees centigrade to many parts of the continent. Nuno Moreira, head of forecasting at the Portuguese Meteorological Office, monitors the weather with growing concern.
Well, it was a very dry and hot summer, so we have a severe drought all over the country.
Portugal has the highest level of forest cover in Europe, about a third of the country, or an area of more than 8 million acres. So the Meteorological Office keeps a close eye on hazardous conditions in the woodland areas.
Portugal is one of the places in Europe where forest fires are very regular. So forest fire is one of the key topics in terms of risk.
By early October, there has been almost no rain for 4 months. Farmer Jose Antonio Marques de Almeida is getting seriously worried.
The land was so dry. It almost seemed as if we were in a desert. The whole forest was dehydrated.
You have a lot of vegetation, very dry and very prone to burn.
Paula de Souza, deputy commander of Oliveira de Hospital Fire Department, was on high alert.
It had been a really long time since it had rained. We knew what was likely to happen with these conditions.
The emergency services have been battling with fires in the parched forests of Portugal for months on end. Then, in mid-October, a new threat emerges. A major tropical storm called Ophelia forms in the mid-Atlantic and moves towards Europe's western seaboard. It's rare that storms of this intensity move this close to the Portuguese coast.
Ophelia coming so close to continental Europe was very unusual.
The prevailing winds hitting Portugal in October normally bring cool, moist air from the north. But the low pressure associated with Ophelia dragged warm, dry air across the Iberian Peninsula.
When you have intense wind in the summer, it's usually from the north, so the air is more fresh, more moist. In this situation, you had the opposite. You had south winds, and being south, it was very warm and very dry.
While Ophelia was close enough to affect the winds in Portugal, it remained far enough away that the rains associated with the storm did not reach the mainland.
It rained over the ocean and not over the continent, where it could have been more useful.
So the storm brought wind, but not rain. And the regular seasonal fires in Portugal's vast forests continue to burn.
We always have had wildfires. But in the past, they were always controlled by the authorities using things like aerial firefighting.
We had lost up to half the forest area, but we had never experienced a total loss.
But 2017 will be different. On the 15th of October, disaster strikes. Ophelia moves close to the coast and whips up wind gusts of up to 80 kilometers an hour across Portugal's vast area of woodland.
It maintained the level of wind speeds very high for a long time. And so the whole day you had persistently high winds.
The weather was weird. There was extreme heat and it was suffocating. And the wind was coming from everywhere.
Ophelia's winds are fanning the flames of hundreds of fires across Portugal. The ingredients are in place to create one of the greatest natural disasters in the history of the country. And put Jose Antonio and his family in terrible danger. September the 21st, 2017, 5 a.m. Puerto Rico has been hammered by Hurricane Maria for more than 3 hours. The most intense part of the storm has now made landfall. Laura Marrero is sheltering with her mum Agnes in their home in San Juan.
Laura went to sleep, and all of a sudden the wind was coming at 150 miles an hour. This, for me, was the scariest part of the storm. the strongest part of the storm.
A hurricane is a low pressure system, so as you get closer to the center, the air pressure gets lower, and the lower the pressure, the stronger the hurricane and the stronger the winds. Winds are getting quite violent, and the pressure is 938 millibars, and the pressure went like crazy low, and I was like, wow, this is some hurricane.
But then the winds begin to fall.
Suddenly, it just started dying down, and there was no wind. And everything was very calm, and we were like, oh my God, we're in the eye, it's so nice, there's no wind.
The eye of the storm is an area at the center of the rotation of a hurricane, where wind speeds drop as the hurricane moves from one direction of rotation to the other.
And maybe like a few minutes pass, then it starts again.
So the air pressure was rapidly rising, and that's when it went nuclear.
I slept through it, and when I woke up, the second part of the storm was stronger than when I went to sleep. I just woke up, so now it's blowing in a different direction, and it's pretty hard still. Check it out.
The backside of the hurricane's inner core caused the wind to shift, so it was now coming right off the Caribbean and just raking this town. The city just disappeared into a wall of white. And then it started to hit the windows, and these were these big, heavy sliding glass doors, and they just started rattling like nuts, bending in and out of the frames, and I was like, okay, those things are gonna blow. They're gonna blow. It was one of the scariest things I've ever seen.
Maria batters Puerto Rico for more than 6 hours. Finally, the storm dies down. Josh's windows have survived, and his neighbors are able to return to their room. 6 miles away in San Juan, an exhausted Agnes heads off for a much-needed rest.
I wasn't feeling safe until the wind started to come down, and that's when I went to sleep. Ironically, Laura, that's when she was at the most danger because she decided to go out.
When she went to bed, the rest of us, we were like, oh, let's go outside and check out the damages and see how it looks. I was very shocked to see how my street looked. It was very, like, all the trees were naked and just skinny, and everything looked dead. It was very shocking to see all of that, and definitely not a very safe environment. And there were still gusts. We actually got caught in one of those. It was a little bit scary.
And Hurricane Maria still had a vicious kick.
I remember my body just felt weightless.
Laura has to make a desperate dash for the nearest shelter.
I was having trouble walking over here. Mom, I'm sorry.
They came back and they said, you were right, we shouldn't have done it.
Laura had a lucky escape, but Puerto Rico has not shared her good fortune.
The island was devastated. Power lines and power poles just thrown across the highway. The downtown areas of towns, just heaps of wreckage, just large, whole streets and city blocks underwater. This place was smashed up, and I realized, wow, this is gonna take a really, really long time for these scars to heal.
More than 1 million people were left without power for months. Damage was estimated at almost $100 billion, and the hurricane is said to have led to the deaths of nearly 3,000 people. October the 15th, 2017. After an unusually hot summer and very little rain for 4 months, Portugal's forests are ablaze. Just off the coast, Tropical Storm Ophelia is driving in powerful and persistent winds to fan the flames.
The 15th of October combined many ingredients at the same day. So very high temperatures, very low humidity, very high wind speeds, and no precipitation.
The emergency services will tackle 440 different fires on this day. The firefighters of Oliveira do Hospital are in the heart of one of the worst hit zones.
We received an alert. The fire was active again, and it was getting bigger.
In nearby Anseriz, farmer Jose Antonio Marques de Almeida and his family are right in the line of fire.
I noticed the flames were close. I realized the situation wasn't normal and that it was too big.
We had already seen a lot of smoke a short distance away, but we couldn't imagine it would become so overwhelming.
The intense winds generated by Tropical Storm Ophelia are spreading the fire at a shocking rate.
The most significant thing here is that the wind was very high for a long period.
The embers travelled so fast because of the wind. At one moment, the flames were here. The following minute, they had reached the opposite hill.
I saw how fast the flames were burning the hill opposite. I knew it wouldn't be long before it reached us. It was really fast. I told my wife to run with our daughters to the village.
He said, "Take the baby away, grab a backpack and leave."
With his family out of harm's way in the village, Jose attempts to save his farm, but is quickly engulfed by smoke.
Everything happened very fast. In 2 or 3 minutes, I was surrounded by a sort of typhoon. I just couldn't see.
Jose flees his farm on a tractor.
I came down the hill towards the village. I was in that position there. I saw that it was not safe to continue, so I came back this way. That was the only route I had to escape.
But he is heading into more danger.
I came here on the tractor, and all of this area was in flames. I realised that the vehicle wasn't fast enough to keep ahead of the fire. So that was when I decided to abandon the tractor and continue on foot.
Jose finds himself trapped in a small clearing of eucalyptus trees.
The fire in front of me joined the fire behind me. I had to stop. I couldn't breathe. I gave up for a while.
Jose's wife and children are sheltering in the village.
Every now and then I would ask if anyone had any news of Jose Antonio, my husband, but there was no news.
I felt powerless. We knew no more firefighters could come to help us. We were all alone.
I thought about my wife and daughters. I wondered if they were safe.
Then something remarkable happens. Jose sees a wild boar run into a gap between the trees in front of him.
That's when I escaped. I saw a friend passing on a motorbike, and he gave me a lift to the next village.
We heard steps coming from outside. It was my husband. He was so happy to see us. He thought we were dead.
Meeting them again was a very happy moment. The thing I have really learned from that day is, if I can, I will not leave my daughters and my wife.
The following day, October the 16th, rain finally fell on Portugal after a drought which had lasted nearly 4 months. The fires which hadn't already burned themselves out were quickly damped down.
No matter if you are a meteorologist or you have any other activity, I think every Portuguese was relieved when it started to rain.
The October 15th event was just one of a series of forest fires which blazed through Portugal in 2017. Over the course of the year, over 1 million acres of woodland were burnt to the ground, the highest total in the country's history. Over 100 people died, and many hundreds more were injured as a result of the fires.